Mr. and Mrs. Right or Wrong, 6-8-23. There comes a moment in every divorcee's journey that is confusing to face. Confusing not only because of how you feel, but why you feel that way. That is the problem I face now. Today I got a text message from my ex that read, "Hey, awkward text to send, but you finding out should come from me directly. I haven't told the boys or posted about it. Wanted to tell you first. Insert AP name. And I got engaged. Again, awkward as hell to say to you, but wanted you to hear it from me." My brain almost exploded from the enormous number of thoughts popping into my head. I had zero idea how to process this news, let alone how I was feeling. It's so strange. I don't want this man, but this news ripped me apart. Not for love, but out of anger and frustration. Obviously, I didn't express any of this. I simply told him, "Congrats, it's not awkward, we are moving on. I wish you well." That was external me. The internal me was itching to get to my laptop and jot down this post to digest my thoughts. But first, football practice. After bedtime, I raced to open my laptop and took a deep breath as she came to life. So come with me down the rabbit hole as I process this and probably overthink everything. Warning, this may get dark, but hell, it should be fun. Let's do the text first. Why, oh why, is telling me awkward? If I got engaged, I would not feel awkward at all to tell him. We are moving on, we don't need each other's approval. For some reason, he was more nervous to tell me he was engaged than he was to confess to the cheating. My engagement announcement would be a quick FYI text. FYI, I got the boys' sneakers. I'm engaged. There is a concert Friday, and I'll send you pics. Now I knew from the jump that this was the end goal. You don't have an affair, leave your family, move across the country into someone's home, and be a bonus dad just to date this person. No, I'm a big girl. I knew it was coming eventually. I think him expressing that it was awkward to tell me threw me, though. Why? Do you feel guilty? Are you ashamed? Did you develop a conscience and realize this might be hurtful to me? Yes, I know. It's probably not that last one, but I was hopeful. I can't seem to make heads or tails of it. Maybe I'm not meant to. Next, my frustration. For over a year, this man cried that he was in the poorhouse. He fought me on any financial demand I made or obligation he had. And all this time, he was refusing to pay for travel, drum lessons, sports, etc., but was putting money in the mattress for a diamond. And from what I know about her, she loves jewelry. This would not be a pebble, more like a blinding boulder. And here I am, begging for what our kids are entitled to as he saves for her finger. It's honestly disgusting. I feel like I did everything right in my life. I dedicated myself to my family, worked hard in my career, managed to go back to school for my 3rd degree, I drank water, slept 8 hours nightly, okay, that one's a lie, and attempted a semi-balanced diet. Is butter a carb? I did it all right. But here I am, raising 2 boys at my mother's house while I try to find us a home. I feel like even though I played by the rules in the Monopoly game of life, I was sent to jail and have to lose a turn while the game keeps going on. I bet he's going to buy Boardwalk too. The thing that irks me the most is he never worked for any of this. It's like every roll of the dice he just got lucky. He benefited from everyone else's sacrifices. And I'm the one living with the repercussions of every decision he has made with our boys in tow. I feel stuck, and he's just gliding down the board, rolling a 12 every time. My sister reassures me that yay, my life is kinda on pause now, and it's not permanent, but my ex will always be a garbage person. That phase of his life is forever. Okay, pity party over. Let me hike up my big girl panties and move on. Last, but never least, the boys. He made a point of telling me that he has yet to tell the boys. You want to know why he hasn't told the boys? He hasn't called them in 3 weeks. I've told the boys to call him, but he has not called them. I can already see how that convo goes. Hey guys, haven't checked in on you in weeks, but let's talk about me. Oh brother, what a self-centered moron. I suggested that perhaps telling your children in person would, be a better choice. He agreed. I also warned him that they probably wouldn't even flinch at the news. This being because, 1, they are boys. 2, this doesn't change their day-to-day lives. He also agreed to that. So why the dog and pony show? Oh, that's right, it's not for them, but for you. He claimed he didn't want it to seem like he was keeping a secret from them, so he wanted to tell them ASAP. Oh boy, wait till they find out that big secret about why Mum and Dad got divorced. He told me it will be a long engagement and a very small wedding. Is that his way of telling me I'm not invited? I'm heartbroken. If you could see how hard I'm eye-rolling right now, I swear you'd be impressed. Hopefully he invites his children. That would be nice. My boyfriend thinks him telling me was pathetic, a sad attempt to gloat. Like, okay, I did some shitty stuff, but look how great it turned out. It was the right decision, see? I feel validated for being a monster. That his claims of feeling awkward were just an attempt to seem human. A marriage built on infidelity, secrecy, and poor choices by two self-centered people sounds like a perfect match. Summer, 8/11/23. It came and it went. Yes, summertime is a time that warms your skin, ice pops cool your tummy, everything smells like chlorine and mosquitoes feast on us mercilessly. In my 40 years, this might have been the best summer I've ever had. That is the reason for my delay in writing. I was busy living. Let's rewind the summer and I can play it all back for you. In June, the communication began to get the boys across the country for a visit. I was excited and felt so guilty about it. Ask any parent how they would feel to be childless for 30 days, and you'll get the same reaction. Instant excitement and relief, followed by sadness and guilt. That was my constant state of being the month of June. The communication was surprisingly easy, though. He was excited, the boys were fairly excited, and I was hesitant. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop or in a constant fear for the boys' well-being. It was a hell of a time with the ending of the school year, bidding on homes, applying for a new job, and preparing myself for the summer without the boys. July 1st came and we headed to the airport. My oldest is such a nervous Nelly, and he had a look of fear on his face every time I glanced back into the rearview mirror. My youngest was sporting a floppy-eared Pikachu baseball hat and focused on his iPad. He couldn't be bothered by the upcoming transition. I envied him. I pulled up to departures and saw my ex outside. He shaved his head completely. He looked weird. I obviously am not attracted to him anymore, and this new cut really sealed that for me. I kissed my kids, went over a few particulars with my ex, and watched them walk through the sliding glass doors. They are gone. I'm swirling with emotions, and none of them are right, and none of them are wrong. I put the car in drive and make the 90-minute drive to my boyfriend's place. I'm a whole ball of feels when I arrive, and he knows this. He lovingly comforts me and feeds me. Man, this guy really knows the way to my heart. I get a text with a photo of them all tucked in their seats, flashing a thumbs up and peace signs. They look happy, so I am happy. I spend the month of July surrounded in calm love. It's beautiful. Is this what real, mature love looks like? If so, please sign me up. My boyfriend and I talk, plan for the future, have adventurous outings and nights tucked in bed, watching movies. I want to live in these moments forever. I realize in this time how much I needed this break. I needed the time to remember who I am and what I need. As parents, we prioritize everyone else. We give ourselves 1 to 2 hours every evening after the kids go to bed to decompress. But those hours are not enough. I'm realizing now how I burned that candle at both ends, and I was about to be scorched. In mid-July, we take a much-needed vacation to Mexico. Want to know what I did on that trip? Nothing. I did nothing, and it was glorious. I sat by the pool every day and sipped frozen mango margaritas. My boyfriend and I bonded and relaxed together. It was all we needed. Upon our return, we took a road trip and visited his brother. This was a bit nerve-wracking. I'd never met anyone in his family as they are spread all over the country and overseas. What if they don't like me? I reminded myself it will be fine, and my boyfriend giggled at my anxiety. He was confident that by being myself I'd win them over. Well, guess what? It worked. His brother gave us the talk on our second day. What are your intentions for the future? It was almost silly. He directed this question to my boyfriend like he was my father looking out for my well-being. My boyfriend didn't hesitate. We are going to be together forever. Someone please scrape me off the floor because I have melted into a big, heaping pile of bubbling love. Now this is something we talked about together, but not something we have said to others. And for him to say this to his brother, the person he is the closest to, this means something. After we left, his brother sent him a message telling him not to mess this up, because she is a keeper. Yes, please, let's keep each other. During July, I tried to limit communication with the kids. Yes, I wanted to call them every day, but I knew my ex would see that as me limiting his time. So I called every Friday and encouraged the kids to call me whenever they wanted. We talked and they told me about all the fun they were having. They bonded well with her kids and were enjoying themselves. I was very pleased. Then it all changed. 2 days before their return, my ex sends me a long message about my youngest's behavior. Now let me tell you, my youngest is a strong-willed child. I've had issues with his behavior in the past and have worked to correct this behavior. I've been successful, but it can be a full-time job. I'm happy now my ex is experiencing firsthand what I've been complaining about to him since he moved. Welcome to my life. Apparently, my youngest got into a disagreement with her youngest. When his GF intervened, my youngest got pissed and called her fat. Now, this is obviously rude, but I'm still laughing about it as I write this. I'm just as annoyed as I am proud. Thanks, little man, but no iPad for the rest of the week. Apparently, his GF was upset and demanded to my ex that my youngest seek more counseling for his behavior. My ex sent me paragraph about how we need to do this now so that we avoid issues when he is a teenager. Okay, no problem. I started researching therapists in the area, called my insurance company, and put in all the legwork. My ex supported all of this. Then later that day, I got back to him with what it would cost out of pocket. Once I sent him that number, it was radio silence. Shocker. He got back to me a few hours later and said he shouldn't have said anything to me. He was emotional and worried, etc. No, that's not it. She demanded it. I told you how much it would cost, and once she heard that, she dialed it back. Well, guess what? I'm taking him anyway and sending you the bill. If he fights me, I'll send him the screenshot of him demanding this was necessary for our son's well-being. Gotcha, asshole. Now, do I think he needs to return to counseling? Not really, but will it hurt? Nope, so we will go because it will only help him. I'm sure my son being there for an extended period of time and witnessing my ex be the dad he always wanted made him angry enough to misbehave. When I mentioned to my ex that his behavior changed after the separation, he got angry and said, "I knew you'd make this about us. It has nothing to do with us." Yeah, it does, so he will return to counseling. I'm so happy my you suggested it. That experience soured all the positivity I had about their trip. Yes, the boys had a good time, but my ex is still prioritizing his GF and the new family's needs over his own children's. This is a pill that is always hard to swallow. Eventually, I'll be numb to it, but when that happens, my boys will be old enough to understand and it will become their pill. I hate that that is the eventual reality. He hasn't even called them since their return on 7/29. He also said he was going to research therapists and get back to me, but has yet to do so. He won't. That's why I just made an appointment for September. You'll get the bill. You're welcome. Karma, 8/18/23. Over the years since the separation, I have waited patiently. I have kept my focus forward and waited for the pieces to fall into place. In these almost 3 years, I have pushed and worked and was able to financially benefit from my divorce, complete another degree, meet an amazing man, swoon, nurture my kids, and yes, buy a house. While tragic and heartbreaking, I'm happy to say that I have come out the other side of the divorce changed and better. So let this be proof that if you stay focused on your children and stay true to yourself, that you will heal and be victorious in your fight. But that's not what this post is about today. Today is the day that everything comes full circle. Last night I returned from the store with arms full of painting supplies for my new home and a lighter wallet. I was excited and overwhelmed about the new home, and over a glass of wine I reflected on how I achieved all I had hoped for. I pat myself on the back between sips and settle myself in for a solo date with Netflix. Once relaxed, my phone pings. Thinking it's my boyfriend texting goodnight, I excitedly grab it, only to realize it's my ex. He wants to know if the boys will be going to the beach this weekend. Strange. Does he maybe want to finally call them? I let him know that my parents are taking them so I can work on the house for the next few days. He then tells me he wants to return here for a few days, but doesn't want to talk about why. What? My interest is piqued. Like through the roof. Okay, how do I play this? I want that tea spilt like right now, but I can't seem to anxious. I let him know the boy's schedule for the next week and remind him that if he needs to talk, let me know. This display of concern is really me being nosy, so don't come at me for comforting him. Apparently, when they boys visited, he never had a sit-down talk with them that he and his GF were engaged. Now, the GF is pissed and wants time apart to think. Okay, let's empty this trash and dig through it. 1. My boys don't care. Even if he did make a show of telling them, they would just say okay and immediately ask for a snack as if nothing happened. 2. My boys have been through a lot with the divorce, moving, him leaving, etc. If it takes a little longer to tell them, then it takes a little longer. 3. Why is that a time-apart scenario? Is this a relationship-breaking event? I don't think it is. I remind my ex that they are engaged, and he made that decision to select her as his partner. But I hit him with some hard truths. I told him my opinion of her. I think she is a self-centered manipulator. She will always be about her and what she wants. And when she wants something, she will hit low to get it. My ex confides in me, reluctantly, that he is second-guessing this engagement. Woo, he apologizes and says he shouldn't even be talking to me after what he put me through. Yes, it's true. You put me through hell. But I walked through that fire and came out a better, happier person. He said that he has been miserable since the engagement because she has changed. She hits low, attacking him as a partner, father, and even about his appearance. I remind him these are not the words of a partner, but a bully. He doesn't disagree. I remind him of all the times that we agreed on something only for him to talk to her and fight me on it. Whose needs was he meeting then? The children's or hers? She has been about herself way before the engagement. He was just too deep in the affair fog to see it. I pause and assess my feelings about this situation. This is the karma I had long waited for. He now sees what I've seen in her and what she is capable of. All those decisions are now biting his ass. I've said it from the beginning, any woman that steals a married man and father and encourages the idea of that man moving 2,000 miles away from his children can't be trusted. Now he is no saint either. I have no sympathy for his choices. But I don't think he realized how his choices would leave him dependent on her. He has no one or anything of his own. He's put her in a huge position of power. Now she is manipulating him to get what she wants, threatening him that he has to leave because she knows he has nowhere to go. Taking away her kids who he has bonded with, he has a job out there that he can't completely leave. No real friends out there and burnt bridges because of her, here. It's all a power move. Apex warned me of this. She liked to throw her weight around and bully people to get her way. In his words, she's a monster. I want to say I told you so, but he's so pathetic right now I don't rub it in, especially since everything in my life is going right. I'm going to continue being the bigger person. He tells me how he's sitting at his desk at work, crying, seeing all the ways I've destroyed my own life as well as the kids. I have no real advice for him. I just tell him the boys' schedule and let him know I'm available to discuss his travel when he's ready. They aren't lying when they say karma is a bitch. Parachute, 9/17/23. I, along with other divorcees, have been through hell, and through that journey, we have learned some hard lessons. These teachings have made us more prepared for life and better at making future decisions, especially when it comes to selecting a partner. Let me tell you about my boyfriend. He is the calm that I need to be. He is always optimistic. He doesn't worry about things out of his control, and he lives for simple moments. He avoids confrontation by being direct in communication, and his actions match his words. He knows how I think, and he's always prepared to deal with my thinking because he already knows what's coming. He is loving and passionate and understands my needs. There is never judgment. There is never malicious arguing. There is only love and support. This, I think, is what healthy love looks like. This is what we all strive for, especially the second time around. My ex did not return here after our last chat. When I asked him about his travel plans a few days later, he said they had a talk. No punches pulled, real talk, and they worked it out. I told him that if he was happy with it, then great. His response? We'll see how it goes. Okay, now, this is strange to me. The second time is when you get it right, no? You matured, figured out what you needed from a partner, learned from your mistakes, and picked a winner this time. Well, apparently not. I guess we are all entering relationships with dull optimism. He has promised to return for our youngest's football game, but has dodged me every time I ask, and even worse, when our son asks. Why make promises you have no intention of keeping? My friend speculates that his GF reads our messages, screens our calls, and won't allow him to return since she knows we are on good terms. Perhaps this is true, but I'm sure he deletes our messages. That thought in itself is pathetic. I recently learned from a mutual friend that my ex struggles with some character flaws his new GF has. Perhaps she is rude to waiters. Maybe she is gullible. She could possibly be too vain. No, the truth is far worse. I'm even ashamed to type it. She regularly uses inappropriate epithets when referring to some people. This blew my mind. Good people don't do this. I'm enraged and embarrassed to learn this, and I am fearful of my children being around someone who speaks this way. So I asked my youngest if he heard any bad words used when he visited this summer. He told me that she used the B word. Phew. This isn't great news, but better than what he could have said. So I asked when she used it. He told me that when she and Daddy fought, she would call him the B word. Hold up. So when they would argue, she would refer to my ex as a bitch. Please, how has he hurt you, sis? He has done everything you've asked and you still talk down to him. My head is spinning. I remind him the B word is an unkind word and we are never to refer to anyone as such. He says, duh, I know. Pause. But you should tell her. I'm crying. Kids, man. Since I'm getting uncensored honestly from my little one, I ask how often she and Daddy would yell at each other. Like every night. Wow. Why would you subject yourself to this? Open your parachute and jump because that plane is aflame and spiraling. Perhaps it's hard to jump when you know there is nowhere safe to land. So here he is, with a woman whom he gave up everything for, only to now be manipulated, degraded, and unhappy with. Walking on eggshells, waiting for the next put down. It's not a good life, but it's the life he chose and continues to choose. I will continue to choose living my healthy, uncomplicated, loving lifestyle with my children and true partner. So very last laugh of me, I know. Responsibilities and gaslighting. 10/16/23. I write to you this evening from the comfort of my new home. The boys are tucked in bed. There was resistance, but I was victorious. The TV over the fireplace glows bright, replaying a popular sitcom. The dishes are washed. Lunches are made, football uniforms have been cleaned, homework is done, and all is right in the world. There is a special feeling being in a new home after divorce. I don't have half the things I need, but it's a work in progress. I'm grateful for the help from my family and friends in setting up my home. The independence is exciting, starting your life over on your terms, but also terrifying. What if I can't pay a bill? What if someone breaks in? What if there is a huge spider on my bedroom wall? I know I've always been, I am woman, hear me roar, but I'd drawn the line at spiders. The woman I bought the house from was a divorcee with 2 children. There were many offers on the house, but when she heard my situation, she knew it was meant for me. Her ex also moved far away, and her past struggle is currently my struggle. We met once and bonded over that. There were moments of comparing notes of our exes, and also moments of tears. My story is not new. Women have been struggling with what I face every day. But she gave me hope. I named the house after her. I'm hoping Carol and I have many great years together. I've been listening to lots of podcasts lately about divorcees dealing with being a single parent and narcissists. I've been able to relate to so much of what I have heard and learned a ton. I know many of you in the past have encouraged me to grey rock my ex. While great in theory, it's difficult with children. I wish I could cut all ties, but it isn't that easy. I thought it wasn't possible, but my ex has proven that it is. The truth is, he isn't grey-rocking me. He's grey-rocking his children. We had a therapy appointment for my youngest 2 weeks ago. The therapist is a lovely woman who is annoyingly upbeat. I guess that's a good quality when you're a child therapist. She called me to inform me that after many calls and emails, my ex had agreed to join the therapy session on Zoom. The therapist was more excited than I was. Perhaps that's because I knew the outcome before the day even arrived. We arrived to our appointment that day, and the therapist greeted me with a look of defeat. My ex sent an email and bailed on the appointment only minutes before it was to begin. I laughed. I literally giggled when she told me. She must think I'm insane. Yes, my ex demanded this therapy, and then when he has to put forth some effort, he bails. None of this surprises me, but bless her heart, she assures me she is going to try again and get him to join. Okay, love. You keep trying. 2 weeks later, I arrive for our next appointment, and she tells me that she has sent multiple emails and made multiple calls and has yet to get a response. I haven't spoken to my ex in close to 3 weeks either. He hasn't called the boys in over a month. So I text him, "Hey, the therapist has been trying to get in contact with you. Please email her back." He responds a few minutes later telling me he emailed her that very morning. She is flustered when she learns this and apologizes. She closes the door and has therapy with my son. I browse old magazines, watch Instagram reels, and an hour later my youngest runs out the door into the waiting room all smiles. She pulls me aside and shows me she has no email from him, nothing in the last 3 weeks. She tried to explain to me what gaslighting is, but I stop her. I know this. I lived with this. Now his children are living with this. And as a fun bonus, she is now too. She tells me she doesn't know how effective therapy will be for my son, only because the root of most of his aggression comes from his father and him leaving. And if he doesn't participate in the therapy, she isn't confident it will have the outcome we had hoped for. Yes, she can help my son to deal with the abandonment and empty promises, but she was under the impression my ex wanted to work with her to address these issues and holds himself accountable for his neglect. Ha! I didn't laugh out loud, but I wanted to. Of course he demanded therapy, so I could find a doctor, drive him, wait an hour, pay up front, and drive him home, but a 5-minute Zoom call was just too much. Last month he promised my youngest he would come to his football game. My oldest told him that he wouldn't come. He gets it, but my little one still holds out hope. He has 2 more games left, and it looks like my eldest's prediction is coming true. Luckily, my boyfriend has been going to his games, and he has enjoyed having his support. I'm grateful for that. In retrospect, maybe I've been holding on to the ideas of my ex stepping up, not because I want him to be a dad, but because my little one does. Last Saturday, I witnessed my boyfriend sitting on the couch munching popcorn with my boys while they watched a movie, simply enjoying the moment together. It made me happy to see their bond. It made me sad my ex won't have that. But, in all honesty, if he isn't sad about it, why should I be? Another moment lost for him and another gained for our future family. Holidays, 12/26/23. There is something really wonderful about the holidays. The tree twinkling in white lights, the crisp air that smells of imminent snow, the sound of wrapping paper being ripped apart and seeing the joy on my boys' faces. Last Christmas, I was without them. This Christmas, I spent making coffee before 6 a.m. as my boys bounced around the living room, begging me to hurry so they could dive into presents. Due to a stomach bug infesting my brother's house, we spent Christmas evening home as a family. My boyfriend has officially moved in, eek, and we had such a great time having game and movie nights together. We invited my parents over, and my boyfriend cooked a great meal. My mum had thirds of her meal. If you knew my mum, you would know this is highest praise she could give. On Christmas Day, my ex called my oldest, but not the youngest. Yes, the child that is in therapy due to his father abandoning him did not receive a call. The funny thing is, after their Thanksgiving together, I thought there would be an effort. It was a brief thought, but a thought nonetheless. I was wrong. He hasn't called since the boys left him in November, and, you'd all be proud, I have barely talked to him either. Our only communication is about my youngest's therapy and the money he owes me. I was told by the boys that their Thanksgiving trip was enjoyable. They went hiking, visited new places, and spent time with her family. They played with her kids and extended family, and fun was had by all. It is always strange seeing my ex during the child exchange. I give so much credit to parents who do this weekly. Perhaps it gets easier every week. I know that every time I see him, I have a new emotion. This past visit, it was pity. Not enough pity for me to actually have sympathy, but honestly, it just sucks to be him. He has always had a very upbeat, fake demeanor. I saw it with coworkers or new people he would meet, but now I see it with me and my boys. Does he forget I know what he is really like? Does he have to constantly play this role? Is this his life now? I would hope not, but I'm not certain. If so, that's a terrible way to live. I had planned, as I stated at one point previously, to bring my boyfriend to the airport so they could meet. But I made a game day decision and decided not to. I'm not sure why, to be honest. Perhaps it was because my ex doesn't care, or maybe it's because my boyfriend might be uncomfortable and protective. He's not his biggest fan. Or maybe it's because I don't want my past and future colliding. I really couldn't tell you. It might be all of those things. I want them to meet, but I'm not sure what the ramifications would be. I feel like a hypocrite because I demanded to meet her. I had the interest of my boys at heart when I wanted that and needed to know who they would be spending time with. But I was also a hurt woman who had to see the woman who broke up my family. I was right for that demand, but also wrong. I know that now. Sometimes I read my posts from the early days of the separation and I cringe. I could never imagine I'd be where I am now, and I was holding on to a life that was so toxic out of sheer fear of the unknown. What a silly girl I was. So for everyone at the early stages of separation, I promise this will all be worth it in the end. My ex did let me know that he plans to come out in February to see the boys for the weekend. But I'm wise to this game now. I simply say okay and let him take the wheel. I know he is going to drive right off a cliff with that statement, and it will never be mentioned again. Just another attempt to seem like the dad he knows he should be. I'm sure his fiancée will plan a fun President's Day weekend activity, and he will have to bail again. I have grown from all of this, as well as all of your insight, to realize that he will always be the for show and all talk dad. So I'm just going to keep doing what I have been doing and let him drift away. How long until he starts missing his scheduled holidays? A year, maybe 2. Either way, it's still a win for me. More time with my boys. Happy holidays to all, and I wish everyone a healthy and happy 2024. New year, new me, same him. 1/28/24. Just before the new year, I visited my ex, Miel. I have been so lucky to have this woman. She loves the boys and probably hates my ex more than I do. We took a drive to visit her and spent time with my ex SL, who flew in for the holidays. I had not seen her in a year, and it was great to spend time with her again. We were close when I was married to her brother, but I also know she is very close to her brother, so I've proceeded with caution in my relationship with her. The boys opened belated Christmas presents and baked cookies. They built a fort of pillows and settled in for a movie, complete with all the best snacks and candy. Probably the best movie night ever. After the boys negotiated their sleeping arrangements, they wanted to sleep in the fort. We came to a compromise and tucked them in. Now it was my turn to settle in and learn some of the gory details of my ex's current situation. I knew there were problems. He had told me. But the frequency and severity is new to me. The blowout I learned of was one of many. Apparently him and my SIL talk often, but he had told me they haven't talked in months. Weird lie, but okay. How is that relationship sustainable? How is there growth, support, and love with malicious fighting, threats, and name-calling? It's not a situation I'd want, but I guess he isn't me. If you remember, I told you they were doing significant renovations to her home. The bill is in excess of 160K. So let me tell you a story my SIL told me. My ex got tickets to a concert. Almost impossible to get tickets. He calls my SIL and tells her to pack. They are both flying out to this concert. Apparently it was someone they both enjoy, and I think it's nice he thought of her before his fiancée. My SEL was excited. She researched flights and even pulled her suitcase out. The concert was in a state neither of them lived in, and my ex volunteered to cover the cost of the tickets as well as the hotel. Again, very nice. Imagine my SEL's dismay when he calls a few days later to tell her he has to sell the tickets. She was upset, and my ex was almost heartbroken. When she inquired why he told her that him and his fiancée got into a fight about it, the fiancé said, "You shouldn't be spending money on tickets, a hotel and airfare. You need to put that money into the house renovation." Wait. I had a conversation with my ex when he was angry at his fiancée, in which he said he is not contributing financially to the house because it's her house. His name isn't on the deed, and he thinks the renovation is unnecessary. Well, well, well. New year, same him. This is also the man that has paid late or doesn't pay for his son's therapy. This is the man who said he couldn't go half on a VR set for the boys. This is the man that can't afford to fly out for a long weekend to see them. Well, now I know why he is struggling financially. So after I learned this, I made my New Year's resolution. No contact. That's it. No reaching out, no pics, no updates. He never asks for them, and I won't be volunteering. He blocked me on Al's social media, so he won't get any information there. I know this is something that I should have done a long time ago. I was wrong in delaying that, but it is a lot easier said than done. He has made no effort to call since Christmas. My oldest texts him memes and silly videos in which there is a very short response. So 2024 will be my year of silence. I'm going to channel my energy into the kids, my BF, the new house, work, and perhaps turning my story into a book. Any authors out there have input to share? I'm happy to hear it. So cheers to 2024, the year of silence and a new chapter, perhaps literally. The Other Mum, 4/2024. One of the great things about no contact is there is no drama, but that results in less posts to read. So I'm sorry for that, but things have actually been great with my ex. We speak occasionally, and it's strictly about the kids. He has even given me a date for their trip out to visit them. Only 2 months, and they will be gone for 6 weeks. I desperately miss them when they are gone, but I do love my solo time. Bittersweet, I suppose. I plan to use the weeks they are away and really hammer out my book. I wrote several pages as a prequel to my story and got into detail about the days after I found out and how I confronted him. It has been tough to relive those moments, but it actually makes me feel a bit silly. That girl thought her world was over. But in reality, it was just the beginning. I never thought I'd be this happy, and happiness wasn't even a thought during the early days. It was all about survival. I'm slowly expanding on my post for the books, and it makes me so happy to read the progress in every post. People always comment on my growth, but to read it and see it as I am now, I agree with you all. Oh, how far we've come. But with every stage of life there are new challenges. My new challenge is my boyfriend's ex. When my boyfriend and I met, I was officially divorced and he was separated. Their divorce papers were at the court, but they had been separated for some time. I made sure I was not the other woman and even met her. No, it wasn't like a scheduled meeting, but they lived in the same apartment complex and we were kinda neighbors. This was a choice on their end to live in very close proximity for co-parenting purposes. It was a good choice for their son, but made it slightly awkward for me, lol. In the 2 years that we have been together, I've done a lot for their son. I've treated him as one of my own. We've gone on vacations together, birthday parties, gifts on every holiday, hosted him at my home and taken him to my family's beach house. I thought that's what co-parenting is, including your partner's child in the family you are creating, right? While I'm not my ex's fiancé's biggest fan, she does take care of the boys when they visit. She makes it a bit easier for me as we never interact due to distance. But I do have her phone number, and if needed we can talk. This only happens during the summer days, the boys are with her. While we will never be friends, and I can't forget what she did, I have to forgive so that we can move on. It's not easy, but it's the right thing to do for the kids. My boyfriend's ex makes this a bit more difficult for me. It's almost like she refuses to acknowledge my existence. I don't ever expect us to be BFFs and braid each other's hair, but I would expect us to have an amicable relationship. And when it comes to her co-parenting their son, it's even worse. In the past 2 years, I've noticed behaviors that should be addressed by a neurologist and a behavioral therapist. I stayed quiet for quite some time, thinking it wasn't my place. but I broke my silence when we moved in together. His ex wasn't convinced he needed assistance when she won't talk to me and asks not to be on speaker around me, brought it up to her. She just excused it away, saying, "That's just the way he is." But it's not. That's how you allow him to be. After he came to stay with us for 3 weeks, it was evident that there were issues. We don't get long periods of time with him often to see the extent of his issues, but this last visit made it very apparent to my boyfriend. How could she be with her son every day and not see any of this? My boyfriend said they talked about his issues, behavior, when he was younger, but no actions were taken, thinking he may grow out of it. Apparently, after she moved away, everything became much worse and still nothing was done. The child finally saw a doctor, and I was correct. The doctor said within 5 minutes of the appointment she was confident he was in need of medication and therapy. 5 minutes. He's not my biological child, I know that, but when was she going to do something about her son if we did not intervene? I know I would have acknowledged the red flags and gotten him help ASAP. I know that because I did it for my son at the age of 4. Her son is 9. Now I know what you're thinking. They live states away. Don't stress yourself out about it. But I have to stress. After moving twice and her son attending 3 schools in 1.5 years, she is moving to my state to be closer to my boyfriend. I will have to interact and co-parent more frequently very soon. I hope this move brings about the stability and structure this young boy needs. Honestly, it almost seems to me that she never expected my boyfriend to move on, that he was just going to stay a bachelor and dedicate himself to her needs, but disguised as their son's. For example, she would call him to carry groceries into her apartment. Like what? She needed help with a remote for their son, and she called him over. Am I too stubborn and independent, or is that what exes actually do? It was like getting a husband on call, yet she filed for the divorce. When talking to my friends about this, they think she still loves my boyfriend, and she might, but she has remarried. She doesn't live with her husband as he's currently living abroad, so she wants to move before he comes to live here. I know you have questions about her marital arrangement, but that's not my story to tell, but it's a good one. I've made so much progress with my ex and resolving our issues, and now that I'm in a good place, it feels as if there are a whole new set of problems. When does it end? Cheating, separation, divorce, co-parenting, rebuilding yourself, finding love, blending families, dealing with the ex. What level am I on in this game? When do I fight the big boss and end this? Who's got a cheat code for me? But more importantly, how do I find a happy medium between us all? For co-parenting to work, all parties must give it their all. I plan to give it my all, but I'm uncertain if she will play her part. But I will advocate for her child, nurture him and give him some much-needed structure and stability, whether or not she likes the situation. As the other mum, that's my responsibility, and he will be treated no different than my own kids while in my care. Rage, 7 to 10 to 24, there is no other word to describe it. I really wish there was. Today I felt seething rage that caused me to lose my composure. The end of June, the boys left to visit with my ex. There was an all-too-familiar meet-up at the airport, one that has become our drop-off, pick-up routine. But this time, my boyfriend joined. I must say that I had so much anxiety about this moment, but when the moment did arise, it was nothing special. My BF, being respectful, hung back for the drop-off until I encouraged him to join. The men shook hands and exchanged words about the heat. It was not eventful. Perhaps I played this all up in my mind. I think women are very different than men. It's still, hey, what's up, no matter the history between men. Women? We will take that shit to the grave. I think I'm envious of men for this ability. Again, I think I am. Jury is still out. Now let's get to the rage. For the past year, my youngest son has gone through therapy to work out his trauma, join a sport he is dedicated to in which he learned discipline and structure, and has excelled behaviorally and academically in school. I'm so proud. My boyfriend is proud. This teachers and coaches are proud. We all salute this little man for his efforts. Only 2 weeks into this cross-country visit do I get a text from my ex that reads, "I'll be honest, I'm not seeing all the good you mentioned coming out of therapy." His words are really cutting lately. Saturday night, driving home from the BBQ, he said he wasn't having fun here, and that he wanted to go back to NJ. He's rude to anyone that has a different opinion than him. Good for you, kid. If you ever feel uncomfortable or unhappy, please speak your mind. Express how you feel and never bottle anything up inside. This was something we worked on in therapy, and I'm happy to see him doing this. But this statement made me feel so angry. My son has worked so hard to be better over the last year, and here he is utilizing what he has learned, and my ex is chastising him for it. You, sir, can F all the way off. Cue the rage. This was my response. I'm gonna be really honest right now, but I'm saying this to help, not hurt. Our son was in therapy and diagnosed with an adjustment disorder. The therapist explained it to me like PTSD stemming from the divorce and you leaving. This past year, he put in work to improve. He went to therapy, played a sport multiple seasons for consistency and structure, made friends, his school behavior improved dramatically. I put in the work too with the sports, therapy, school meetings, playdates, and getting a house for stability. We have put in work and there was so much improvement, his therapist says he doesn't need to come anymore, and his teachers and coaches comment on how kind he is. What hasn't happened is you putting in work for him to get better. Said you'd come to a game, didn't come. Said you join in on therapy, didn't join. Said you'd come here sometimes, you didn't come. Said you'd call more often, rarely call. Why would you expect him to be on his best behavior for you when you haven't for him? This is tough for him. He wasn't even 5 when you moved out. He doesn't know you as a dad because he has no consistent memory of it. So because he doesn't know you as a dad and you haven't acted like a consistent dad, he is angry, confused, and acting out. I'm saying this not to upset you, but help you. If you want to see change in him, you have to put in the work too. You have to do more than see him for 7 weeks out of the year to build that relationship with him so he starts respecting you as a dad. There is zero excuse. If you don't do more now, he will start refusing to go there when he's a teen and then your relationship is done. It's a hard truth and I'm sorry. He then got angry and tried to end the conversation because I was finger-pointing when he was just looking for advice. What about his statement asks for advice? I get it. No one liked to hear how they messed up. No one liked their noses rubbed in their mistakes. But instead of focusing on what could be done for our son, he focuses on himself. I made an appointment with the boy's therapist today and told her all of this. I wanted her to be prepared for the clean-up she would have to do upon their return. She gave me advice and assured me I was doing everything right for them. I know I am. It's always been my focus. But at what point do I put my foot down and stop the damage he does every summer and beyond? She is going to reach out to him and ask to suggest a virtual appointment for him and my son. Let's see if he agrees. I hope he does, but we all know he won't. He likes to complain, play victim, and demand of others, but won't take accountability or action on his end. The boys won't be home for 3.5 weeks. I just hope upon their return I can right the wrongs they experienced. A mother's work is never done. The return, 9/22/24. The boys were set to return on August the 3rd. They boarded their flight, and unfortunately the weather did not cooperate, and a storm caused them to divert to another city. This city was about 7 hours away. My ex let me know that all flights that evening have been grounded, and they were stuck there for the night. I'm actually happy that this happened. One of the sticking point on our agreement was at which age the boys can fly solo. I pushed for 15, he wanted 12. We settled on 13. Next summer, my oldest will be 13, so I knew he'd make a plea for their solo travel to save himself a buck. Now, if he tries next summer, I will remind him of how the boys got stuck in a city overnight, and if that happens again, they will be alone. So maybe this happened for a reason. My ex opted to rent a car and drive the 7 hours at night through a storm. Guess he was really looking forward to returning them. They returned at almost 6 a.m. and the boys were a ball of energy. They were excited for their return and their adventure. I hugged them in the driveway and measured them against myself. I swear they each grew a foot. My ex looked weathered from the journey. His under eyes were puffy, his skin was pale, he was not in good shape. But I was grateful he put forth the effort to return the boys safely and promptly. I spoke to my boyfriend, and he agreed if my ex needed to get some sleep, he can stay for a bit and take a nap. I know what you're going to say. Oh, you're too nice. Yes, maybe I am. But he did just go above and beyond, and I will always be the bigger person, even though he's a jerk. He had a 3 p.m. flight booked that day, so was able to get a few hours sleep. He slept through his alarm, and even when I sent the children upstairs to wake him, he was out cold. So here I went, like I did daily for years, up the stair to shake him violently. He was fetal on top of the blankets, fully dressed. I noticed his phone wallpaper was the boys, and that was nice to see. I hope the reminder of them daily motivates him to call more after this trip. I shook him, and he woke with a startle. I could tell he was dazed and very confused to see me over him. Did he think maybe these past few years was all a dream? His dream and my nightmare. His eyes came into focus and remembered why this was happening. He seemed a bit embarrassed or awkward. I can't quite put my finger on why. He came downstairs and had breakfast while the boys recanted their night's adventure with him. And almost as if on cue, my handsome, fit boyfriend, yay IDK how I landed this one, ladies, entered the kitchen, shirtless. He forgot my ex was there, but this moment was delicious for me. Yup, I upgraded, no question about it. My ex sat there taking it in, and I swear I openly smiled for him to see. My boyfriend said good morning to him and wrapped himself around me. My boyfriend must have done this on purpose, peacocking himself like this. For my benefit, maybe, perhaps to prove he's the alpha in the house, I'm not sure exactly, but I'm damn happy it happened. Is it petty? Sure, maybe, but I honestly don't care. My ex walks out to the car and we exchange pleasantries. He tells the boys he will call when he gets home, he will return for a football game, and he can't wait to see them again as he already misses them. That was August 4th. As of today, there has been no communication. Are you shocked? Yay, me neither. My youngest swears he attend a football game this year because he said he will, so he will. I told my ex if he doesn't really plan on coming to tell me now so I can let my little one down now and not at the last game of the season. I sent him the schedule twice. He swears he will come. Let us wait and see. September is always busy. We all start school, sports, drum lessons, play dates, orthodontist appointments, etc. So I'm hoping he will forget, but I don't think he will. My little one gives him the most stress, but I think that's because he loves him so much. And he is so angry and confused about the situation. The therapist agrees. I will admit the transition home has been better than I thought. Perhaps they know now how this goes. Out of sight, out of mind. Early September, my ex reached out to my oldest, telling him he would call that evening to see how their first day of school went. Spoiler, he never called. Like, why do all that? He could have just said, I hope you have a great first day, and eliminate the need to call. I confronted him on that, and he told me a coworker died. Last time I confronted him about not calling when promised it was the stomach virus took him out. There will always be an excuse. A few days later, it was my ex's birthday, so the boys called him. After a few football practices or games, my little ones calls him too. If you add it all up, the boys have called way more than he has. Is that sad? Yeah, a little. But it also means eventually when the boys are older and busy with life, they won't call. And my ex won't either. Relationship are two-sided, and my ex will eventually learn this the hard way. Football promises. 11/15/24. I've been trying to wrap my head around these last few weeks, and I'm in disbelief. I've hesitated to even write it because I am ashamed. I fell for it again. But this time, so did the kids. This football season has been the best yet. My youngest isn't the best player, but he loves his team and his coaches. My ex made a promise to come to a game, but I know better than to ask. Instead, I just let the weeks pass, and if he wanted to come, he would. That has been my stance since the beginning. On 10/24, my youngest sent him a message asking about a Nerf gun he wants and asked if he would be at his game on the 26th. My ex said he booked a red eye for Friday night, tomorrow, and would be there Saturday morning. I was shocked when I read this. I was also a little proud he took the initiative. I followed up with him, and he confirmed that he booked a flight, got a cheap hotel and car rental, and would be on the first flight home Sunday morning. Well, okay. Look at that. But I know my ex well, he is very type A. He plans things in great detail, and his vague answers had me a bit concerned. But he wouldn't say all that if he didn't plan to, right? Right? The first thing my youngest does on Saturday morning is ask when Dad is coming. Good question, kid. 'Cause I have no information. I look up all the red-eye flights into our local airport and all but one have landed. I shoot him a text. It's blue, I guess that's good, but no response. It's only 7 a.m., let's give it time. By 10 a.m., the flight had landed and still no response. No, this can't be what I think it is. My literal worst fear is not happening. I panic. My youngest asks again when he is getting there. His eyes are wide and hopeful. Shit, shit, shit. In a panicked state, I do something I never thought I'd do. I text his fiancée. Very kind, very short, and to the point. I asked if he took a later flight and if everything was okay. Crickets from her, but I expected that. Then, shortly after noon, I get this text. No, I'm not coming. I should have just said it way back that it wasn't going to work. But for some reason, a reason that I need to figure out through a massive amount of therapy, I decided to string you and GTE along and not be truthful. I'm honestly the lowest of low, and I deserve everything that is coming my way. I'm sorry for putting you in this position. I'm failing as a dad right now, and I need to get my stuff together. I'm going to call Hashtiwar to apologize to him as well. I just need to clean myself up. I have no words. An hour later he calls and there are tears. Anger and sadness fills my little one, while my oldest takes a whatever attitude, being smart enough to realize this was never going to happen. My ex claims full responsibility, but that is easy to do 2,000 miles away. The weekend is rough. My little one is angry, little person with big feelings. I'm so sad too, see him so hurt, I cry a lot in private. My boyfriend is supportive, but there isn't much he can do either. We are all just managing something we can't manage and didn't cause. It's a terribly hopeless way to feel. Monday is back to the routine, and I text my ex to let him know that he needs to return to therapy because he has regressed. My ex says he will talk to him but does not call. Tuesday, I get an email from his teacher asking if something is wrong. My little one is angry, argues with peers, is rude, talks back, etc. I explain the situation, and she says she will do what she can for him at school. She feels terrible as well. I forward the email to my ex so he can see, from a third party, that he is struggling. My ex calls my youngest Tuesday afternoon, and they have a 2-minute convo. Great job. Tuesday night is football practice. He no longer wants to go. He said he is done with football. That one hurts to hear. He loves it. I have no follow-up from my ex about the email or his chat with our son. Wednesday morning was a struggle to go to school. At this point, I've had enough. I call at lunch to make a therapy appointment. The therapist is devastated to hear this story of betrayal. She makes an emergency appointment for him that evening. Before the appointment, I text my ex to tell him the latest developments and that I made him a therapy appointment. I also say, since he takes full responsibility, he should pay for these sessions. They are $200 a pop. There is no response. I email him the invoice of what he owes me the following day. Again, no response. Tuesday, almost a week later, he texts me saying we never discussed him going to therapy. I just made the appointment. He also says he will only pay for what he is legally obligated to pay and will not pay the bill in full. Need I remind you, he said he took full responsibility and makes more money than me. He then goes on to say that he doesn't like the way I speak to him, WTF, and that I need to learn boundaries. Texting his fiancée was out of bounds. At this point, it's on. I'm not holding back. I remind him that I mentioned therapy to him. He didn't respond. I sent the teacher email. He didn't respond. He spoke to our son, didn't follow up with me. I sent a message that I was making an appointment, didn't respond for a week. I see a pattern, do you? Perhaps maybe it seems like I'm making decisions and telling him how it's going to be because our convos are purely one-sided. I remind him our MSA stated I can make decisions for the boys, medical and academic, in his absence. I just have to tell him what I'm planning to do. I think I did that. While he is correct that he only has to pay what he is legally obligated to pay, I thought he would be a decent person. LOL, I'm a moron. Forget the fact that I was able to pay for therapy for 9 months weekly, but these new sessions are a great burden to him. Lastly, I remind him that several years ago, on Father's Day, he gave his then-girlfriend his wife's phone number, in which she sent me a long text that I have share with you all here. So maybe, just maybe, he crossed a boundary 3+ years ago when he passed along my phone number to his mistress. That was Tuesday 11/5, and he hasn't responded to any of my messages since. Why would I even message him, is what you're asking, right? Well, my oldest was diagnosed with walking pneumonia, and I told him and kept him updated. He didn't respond, and he didn't text my oldest either. I periodically asked my oldest if he spoke to Dad, and his response was, "No, Dad doesn't even care." Welp, I don't think he is wrong. Now it is 10 days later, my oldest is getting better, and my youngest is in therapy and improving. And I have not received a dime for therapy. His coaches were so sad to hear what his dad did to him, and even more upset that he wanted to quit. They reached out and asked him if he would come back for the rest of the season to be a coaching assistant. He wouldn't have to suit up and play, but he could assist the coaches, whom he loves, with running plays, holding the clipboards, arranging practice cones, etc. I have to say, his dad may be shitty, but he has some amazing men in his life. His therapist is the sweetest woman, but she is enraged that my ex did this. It's so funny to see her angry. It just doesn't fit for her. She told me he has to take responsibility for this and participate in therapy for my youngest to heal properly. She feels terrible that I am burdening the cost of this on my own. After therapy this week, my youngest told me that he is working on writing a letter to his dad in therapy. I hope that is the gut punch my ex needs. The therapist is also going to reach out to him to participate in my son's therapy sessions. At this point, I'm angry and ashamed. I don't know what made him do this. Lying to me is one thing, I kinda expect it at this point. But to the kids is a whole other story. I asked him why he couldn't come, and he said money. Where TF is all of your money going? Perhaps maybe she is in charge of the money and he couldn't ask. I'm sure me sending that text to her disrupted his home life. Is she the problem? He cried on both calls he had to my son. He does feel bad. But maybe it's the obvious answer. He realizes he is a bad person. My oldest has an IEP meeting on 11/21 in which my ex is supposed to join via Zoom. We will see each other, face to screen. Wonder if he will look me in the eyes, or maybe he will just cancel on the meeting. Willing to take bets.